Hey there, thanks for joining us for season 2 of The Dominant Ones, where we explore mastery and the pursuit of excellence through being dominant. Today's guest is Holly Robinson Peete, an actress and a co-founder of the HollyRod Foundation. You want to know the secret to longevity in show business and entertainment? You're going to want to stick around. Enjoy the show.
We go way back, too far back, right?
We go back to Atlanta nights.
Woo! So can't tell all our secrets, all right?
I am fascinated.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, hey, you know what? It's crazy because those were the fun days. Because, you know, actors, entertainers, singers, all of us, athletes, all of us was like almost like family. We all hung out together, you know?
Oh yeah,
it's different now. It's different.
It's so true. That's how every time I hear your name, I think of good times. And
we had some great times.
We really did.
Well, it's good to have you on the show. We really appreciate you come and have a conversation with us. It's going to be really kind of casual, and we just are going to have a conversation. We're just going to talk and talk about, you know, where you came from to now, and talk about all the great things that you accomplished. So,
got it.
I have a quick question. Just listening to that, I could listen to the two of you talk for the whole show, actually, because that's some
we don't have enough time.
Connection there. I love that. But I do have a question. So you were saying, you were talking about a specific era, a specific place with athletes and entertainers and actors and whatnot, all hanging out together, and that it was a different time. Can you just explain a little bit more about what that was, where you all gathered, and what you feel is different now?
Well, I mean, gosh, how do you even put it into words?
Yeah, that's a pretty open-ended question, I suppose.
Yeah, but the first thing I think of is just, you know, connectivity, right? We didn't have all this. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't even have two-way pagers yet.
Right.
We had like 2 coconuts and a little like wire. And we didn't, when you were coming to town, you just called somebody on their phone and you told them, you didn't text them, they answered the phone, or you left a message on the voicemail, not even voicemail, on your answer machine to say you were in town. And I remember when I met Dominique, I mean, I was on 21 Jump Street, probably my second or third season on there. So like 88-ish. And 87, 88-ish. And whenever I would come either to town to do promotion for the show or what have you, Dominique was like the ambassador. He would show me around town. He would make sure I was hooked up. He would make sure I had everything I needed. And so there was a sense of like hospitality, I think, back then that we don't have as much now. And so, you know, the 80s were a great time. And this was just a time where we made real life connections. And I think that's why it resonates with so many people, and the 90s do too, but especially the 80s, because we were connected and we had real, true connections.
Well, you know, Holly, I agree with you 100%, because those days, the 80s, we all kind of helped each other's career in a funny kind of way, because, we put, trust and faith and encouragement in each other. And so we saw the growth when we were very young to pursue something that you were very passionate about, that you felt like you were going to have some sort of dominance in your life and control over your life. And so the 80s, man, I thought, we learned a lot from each other, because I know a lot of guys I know outside of basketball, outside of sports, really helped my career, in a different kind of way. But that's that motivation and that belief in one another, that was big in those days. So that helped us, I thought, in trying to figure out where our next level is going to be.
Yes, and it was tangible. It was like it was not electronic. It was tangible, and we would show up to each other's events. We would make sure we were at each other's dinners. We would be at each other's weddings, and so there was just a real tangibility that I think is missing these days.
Yeah, it's different time, but at the same time, when you can go back and look at those relationships and see how they have really been prosperous in their life, see how their lives have progressed in something bigger than themselves. And it took all of those relationships, those organic, good relationships that, put that belief and help you believe that, I can do anything I put my mind to. Even though you were doing it when we all met, but you've taken it to another whole level. And that's that attitude, that dominance, belief in yourself that got you there.
That's it.
I'm curious, listening to you guys talk, there's the two things that are striking me. One is mentorship, and the other is connection. And for me, as an actor, the types of roles I love the most are the types that have big ensembles. I love ensemble work. Whether you're generating the work that then gets seen or you create the ensemble after you get the scripts, whatever it is. I love ensembles. 21 Jump Street was a great ensemble, at least from the outside watching, that kind of thing. I'm curious if to what extent mentorship and that sort of ensemble feeling, if I can use that word, helped launch your career and helped push you to the heights that you've achieved, and even in everything you're doing now, connected with acting too, with your foundation and everything. I'm curious about those. How important are those?
Oh, very important. I mean, mentorship is everything. I mean, you reaching out to someone who's, just getting their feet wet or trying, to become a star or trying to become a working actor or whatever that is. I just, listening to you, the first thing I thought of was an actress who I just worked with on a Hallmark Christmas movie called Christmas in Evergreen. And this was her very first lead role. She had always played the Black best friend or, kind of the peripheral character with no backstory. And here she was now playing this lead role. And I was sort of a supporting character in this particular movie. But she asked me all the time, like, what is it like to be a number one? And when you're number one on the call sheet, what are you supposed to do? And so I really guided her along because I saw her sort of maybe getting ready to make some mistakes and pitfalls. And I remember when I was starting out, I had the great fortune of having a mother. And I'm sure Dominique will remember my mom because she was, you can't ever forget Dolores Robinson after you've met her, who really showed me how to be ready for this business. So my mother really mentored me. We were living in Philadelphia. My dad got this big role on Sesame Street, right? I was 5 years old, key demo for Sesame Street, as you can imagine. He was the original Gordon. But he didn't want me to be on the show. And imagine you're 5 and your daddy is Gordon on Sesame Street and he doesn't want you to be on the show. Like, it was devastating to me. Why? Because he didn't want me to be a kid actor. And he knew if I got up to New York where they shot Sesame Street and I was in a scene with Ernie Bird or Oscar or Big Bird or somebody, and I had those lights on me, he knew me well enough to know that I was going to be like, this is what I want to do. And he didn't want an actor for a daughter. So I begged and pleaded. I finally got a chance to go up there. I had one line on Sesame Street. I blew my one line. I was supposed to say, hi, Gordon. And I kept saying, hi, Daddy. That was a whole issue. And essentially it was like, he was right. I got up there. I saw those lights. That's what I wanted to do. So he pushed back on that. Later on, when they got divorced and then we moved to California, my mom was just like and we literally drove across country to a better life, right? She had no money and was just like creating something out of nothing. She became one of the top managers of talent in the 90s, right? And here's this Black woman in a room with mostly white men. And she managed, LeVar Burton was her first client. And she went on to manage Wesley Snipes and Martin Sheen and Pierce Brosnan. And she went on. And I got to watch all that. So I watched a lot of those actors make mistakes, from the perspective of being the manager's daughter. So that when my shot came on 21 Jump Street, I was ready. Like, I knew what to do, what not to do. And I think that has given me a sense of why I've been able to continue doing this for, 3+ decades. But mentorship is so key because, and just like Dominique, a player that would, a young player that wants to, and we have a friend in common, Kaylin Bennett, who's, obviously somebody who you mentor and I love him too. And we've helped him as well. Like, these younger people, when they reach out to you and say, hey, can you let me know what I should do in this situation? That is so valuable. And I benefited from that. So I'm always wide open. And the young lady who I was talking about, Rakia, ended up doing an amazing job in this movie for her first lead. and the movie rated through the roof on Hallmark Channel. And she was so excited. And she called me and said, I couldn't have gotten through being number one in this movie without your help. So mentorship is so important.
But Holly, it definitely it's very visible where you got your strength and from your mom to go to Hollywood during those times and being able to handle herself in a room full of men that dominates the business. And handle herself. I mean, that's very difficult to do. So I see where you get your toughness and all that from, which brings me to my next question. Early in your career, things are going smooth, for the most part. But when did you notice things start to go the other way? What were some of your biggest disappointments, and how did you get around it? What type of mentorship or attitude did you have to develop to get around some of those, pitfalls or some of the mistakes?
Great question. So, and I was literally just thinking about this little life lesson the other day. So, we're all shut in, most of us, and we're working from home. I'm on social media all the time, and somebody sent me a picture of a 90s moment that was the Boomerang premiere. So remember Boomerang, 92.
Yeah.
And I looked at those pictures and they were like, it was some website that was like, oh, look at this was like this red carpet back when they had premieres that were just real premieres, was so iconic because everyone was, some of us didn't really survive the fashion era. Like Jamie Foxx was wearing some like cinched up mom jeans and we were laughing about that, but the glow of all of us on this red carpet, right? So I look at the photo of me and Karen Parsons, I went to high school with. She was on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I remember like, wow, what was going on during that time? So just to back up, got on 21 Jump Street, went 5 seasons, got hanging with Mr. Cooper, went another 5 seasons. I mean, I was rolling. Like I really was like, okay, I don't know what anybody's talking about. The struggle is real because there was no struggle for me. I just went from show to hit show to hit show. But there were moments where, and that Boomerang premiere was one. So when Boomerang was being cast, I got an opportunity to fly to New York and audition for this movie, right? For Halle Berry's part. So I remember it was me and one other actress and I guess Halle, and I flew to New York, and my momager, right, had called me. He's like, all right, you're going to audition for Eddie Murphy, the Hudlin brothers, and Brian Grazer. Like, it was a big moment. Now, Halle was super hot right then, and I didn't really feel like I was going to get the part. I just wanted to get in front of these people so that they could know that, that I could do something, go to movies or whatever. So I was getting ready. I'm in a hotel, and I was ready for this part. Like I had never been more prepared for an audition in my life. As I'm leaving the hotel room and the door is closing, I hear the phone ringing, right? And remember, just nobody's doing this, but we're all like on the phones, right? So I hear the phone ringing, and it's my mom. And she said, I have bad news for you. They saw Halle and they decided they want her. And I was like, okay, but I'm still going to the audition, right? Like they like her, but she said, no, you're not even going to get a chance to audition. When I tell you guys, it hurt me so deeply. Not that I couldn't get the part, but that I flew from LA to New York, took the time to do that. And they were like so flippant about, nope, we know who we want. That is, first of all, that's bad etiquette in show business. If you flew somebody out, just let them audition. Okay, you want to hire this actress, whatever. It broke me down. I mean, thinking back on it, it really wasn't that big of a deal. But at the time, the opportunity not to get in front of those people and audition and I was so ready and walking out the door. It was the worst feeling ever. And I remember that night going out to the bar, getting my drink on, and I ran into Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones, right? The godfather of show business, right? So I said, Quincy, I'm quitting. I don't want to do this. I'm going to go back and get my master's. And I don't want to act anymore. I'm done. And I told him the story of Boomerang. He was like, girl, if you're going to let them people make you quit the business, then you should quit, because there's no reason in the world. And Quincy talked me off this ledge like for an hour, and he gave me his attention. And then literally, I think that was between Jump Street and Cooper. And literally, you know, he picked me back up and he mentored me in that moment. But I was ready to quit. So when I saw that Instagram photo of all these pictures of all of us on the carpet and stuff, and I remember showing up looking good, right? Because I was like, I want them to know that, you know, how good I look, because I knew, like I said, I knew she would probably get the part, and that was her moment to get that. But why was it that you couldn't let me audition? So to this day, when I see Eddie or Reggie, now that was how many years ago, right? Decades.
Long time.
I still say to them, I was walking out the door. You guys could have seen me there. Like, they kept blaming it on each other, you know. Oh, Eddie.
Of course.
Yeah, Eddie was the one. And Reggie was, no, it was Warrington. No, it was Reggie. So we laugh about that to this day. And so those blessings come, and those moments of mentorship are really important.
I want you to know that I have a new life goal now, is to have a story where I can say I was really down and I went out to a bar and got my drink on and I ran into Quincy Jones and and he helped get my mind right.
Right? It's like,
that's a lovely story. And it's also, it's mentorship. But it's also about that it speaks to the connections you've made and the way you've lived your life. You have connections with people who can at any moment help you spontaneously. And that also strikes me as huge.
We were just great friends for a long time. And everybody, it was, you know, I never had more organic relationships than we had in the 80s, because it was so many people in our circle who was dominant at what they did. You know, they were very, very good and very confident in what they did in life. You know, what you've done, what I've done, what many people, your husband's done, what all of us has been a part of is that money came by, you know, it's priceless. And I look at that, and I know you're going to agree with this, I look at that as being a dominant time of our life where we all knew what we wanted and we would fight and do whatever we had to do to get it. And so that brings me to my question. As your career has progressed, does that same dominant feeling still apply the way it did when we were younger?
You asked me some good questions, Dominique. That's a great question. It's just different. I feel like there's a little bit of a shift. I don't feel as much of the community support as I feel like we had back in the day. I feel like it's got to come from within. So you have to find what drives you from within. And I think that as I enter a certain age, and I realize,
30, by the way,
yeah, 30, right. As I enter a certain age, listen, you know, people can do the math, and now you have Google, boy, I can't get away with nothing. But
Google,
we you know, we have to look within to find our own motivation. And that's why I tell my kids all the time, like, you know, you can't sit around and wait for someone to, as they say, gas you up or blow smoke. You have to get out there and find that within yourself. And so having had the career I've had and the longevity and the people like you that I've met and the people that I've connected along the way, having that Dolores Robinson gene in me that I can work any room that I need to work, talk to anybody I need to talk to. Those are things that I have in me as a result of coming up in the 80s and 90s. And now it's about discovering who that is, who I am, knowing who I am, and taking that into my next decade, right. You know, and taking that into this next part of my career. And what I love about, you know, doing these Hallmark Christmas movies and sort of doing the Christmas thing now is that the content that I'm creating is so positive and uplifting and it's joyful. And we always know how it's going to end. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good feeling. And I did a panel last night for the Television Academy on Christmas movies. And they asked me, you know, what is it about this genre that you want to love being a part of in this juncture in your career? And I said, you know, what I love about being a part of these Christmas movies is how it makes people feel. Not to mention that my aunt back in Philadelphia is a Hallmark freak, right? She watches every single movie, and that her niece is on these movies and starring in these movies is just too much for her. But there's something about the content, right? Being able to create positive content that makes somebody feel good in this moment. But that all comes from within. So thinking about the type of things that I want to do moving forward, and feeling good about all that. And the inspiration is kind of self-driven, you know?
Now at this point in life, you've done so much. I mean, just amazing. I mean, to see where you come from and to where you're at now, it's been an amazing ride. And I know you're going to definitely agree with some of the stuff that you've been through, some of the stuff you've done. But it's a question we always ask everyone, you know, at the end of it all is, give us your definition of dominance.
I just,
that's easy for you, I know.
No, yeah. So my definition of dominance, I would just say, is the ability to face a challenge and rise above it. You know, not necessarily everyone, but everything that gets in your way, or to have the tools, develop the tools to move past the hurdles of life. You know, I mean, we're all going to see them, but if you can dominate those moments that are supposed to dominate you, then that gives you an upper hand. So I would say being dominant is something in the positive form that is so important as you move through life. Being able to dominate moments that are supposed to break you down, pushing past them. I feel like dominance is something that we all should be able to figure out how to master. Now we have, you know, we're human. And so there's going to be moments that seem like they're going to dominate you, or situations you can't feel like you can't overcome. But having the opportunity and working on having the tools to put yourself in a dominant situation or dominant position is something that I aspire to all the time. And even especially in, not even so much in my career, like I don't want to dominate the show business. I would like to, you know, be more dominant in philanthropy and giving back. That's a place I would like to do that.
That's why I've always respected you, Holly, because of what you're willing to do for other people. And that's a clear and defined definition, in my opinion, of dominance. Not as so much what you do for yourself is what you do for others and with others. So, and we speak the same language when it comes to that. So I think that's a wonderful definition of dominance.
That's one of the best I've ever heard. So what was the inspiration to start the HollyRod Foundation? And I know that it's sort of shifted over the years. The focus has expanded somewhat, but I admire so much what you've done, and I'm just curious how you segued into that, and what the genesis of that was.
Well, we started the foundation because my dad had Parkinson's disease. This was in the 80s. Like, we've been talking about the 80s a lot, but this was in the 80s. We had no search engines, no Google. I didn't know what Parkinson's was. Muhammad Ali and Michael J. Fox hadn't come out yet and been the face and the pioneers of Parkinson's. So it was just, all I saw at my library in my college was neurological and incurable. And I just was 19 trying to figure out how to help my dad. And so years later, when I met and married Rodney, you know, he said, you know, here's the good news about your dad, and we can afford to take care of him. I got a job in the NFL, you're on TV, we can take care of him. But what about the people who can't? So that's where HollyRod started, for compassionate care for Parkinson's families and caregivers. And then when we had the twins, and RJ, our twin RJ, was diagnosed with autism, we realized that it took us a while to be able to talk about it publicly, because Rodney was kind of struggling with his expectations for what his first son would be. And he had to really go through that whole journey. And my head was down and my sleeves were rolled up, and I was going to work for this kid. And so that caused a lot of issues, but probably about when RJ was, 6 or 7, we realized that we had to really serve the autism community too, because we knew our story was too powerful. And we had to and we knew other people in the business, big stars that had kids on the spectrum, but didn't want or wasn't comfortable talking about it publicly. And there was no awareness. And so we sat down at a kitchen table and we had a family conversation about whether we should go public and talk about RJ or not. Rodney was like, absolutely not. I do not want my son to be the poster child for autism. I don't want to limit his life. And I was like, but think of all the people look at all the people we've helped with Parkinson's just by talking about that. And so I won that argument because I win every argument in this family, because that's how that goes. And we expanded our mission, right? We expanded our mission to provide compassionate care for families impacted by autism too. So that was 20 something years ago. And we have really been able to really leave a footprint in autism awareness. And that's been a blessing. So we're still doing that. Now we're really supporting kids to helping them get jobs. RJ has the dream job. He got a job with the Los Angeles Dodgers, being a clubby for them. They hired him in spite of his autism, and it gave him such life and purpose and just, we want that for all kids with autism, not just the ones that have, a mom like me and a dad like Rodney. Like, we want this for all kids. So that's what HollyRod is doing right now. And it's really gratifying work.
Well, I share and respect your work. I have a kid who's dealing with autism too. So I feel what you guys have gone through, but they're wonderful kids. They're wonderful kids. They're just like anybody else, and so they find things that they're passionate about and things they love. And the only thing we do as parents is to give them the best care and the best knowledge that we can possibly give them, and make sure that people understand that these are people too, because a lot of times kids and people who are dealing with autism kind of get pushed to the side, that people don't really care, so it's up to us to stand on the wall for them.
It is. And to fight for them, advocate for them, and make sure that there's awareness about all the things they can do. We always talk about what they can't do, and there's so many great things they can do. I mean, if Dave Roberts didn't give RJ this opportunity to get in there, and he is the best clubby in the world, because some of the things that his autism brings, his organization, the way he lines things up, some of his OCD things that he does really come in handy in that clubhouse. Now he can't do no laundry at home, but you should see how he does that laundry for that baby. And it's just crazy. And they love him. And every single time, he's a kid that grew up with virtually no friends. And now every single time I post about him or say, hey, oh my gosh, I love the Dodgers for giving my son a chance, an opportunity, they always hit me back, the Dodgers, the players, will say, you're always thanking us for, giving RJ. You don't know what he brings this clubhouse. Yeah. He brings us so much joy. He always is, on time. Sometimes he'd be sitting in the Dodger Stadium parking lot for an hour before his shift because he doesn't want to be late. So he has these beautiful attributes, and we wanted to document that, show the world the possibilities. And so now we just got the word today, literally before this conversation, that he is officially getting a World Series ring.
Hey!
So that's pretty cool.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's incredible.
We are so happy for you and your family, and let's make sure you tell Rodney hello for me. I haven't seen him in forever either. So, this is just a great time, great conversation. It's great to hook up with you, and this has been fun. This is fun. We could go all night, but I know you got things to do too. So,
and so do you guys. But thank you,
yeah.
And thank you for having me. I mean, I just love, like I said, as soon as I saw your face, Neek, I was like, oh my gosh, I just remember.
Haven't aged a whole lot, have I?
No, you got that little sexy. You got that little sexy salt and pepper thing going on, right?
Yeah, I can't do nothing about it, So
hey, that's cute. That's cute. That's working.
Okay, good to see you, lady.
You too, babe. Take care.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for watching The Dominant Ones. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to know when we release our next episodes. And please let us know in the comments what makes you dominant.